the reason we're not present is because we're all chasing. Every day we get up and we're chasing and we're in a rush and we're running around for something out there that we don't even know exactly what the worth or what the value, what it is. And we're missing out of this beautiful things around us. Welcome to another episode of Wild Truth. I have a wonderful guest today. I'm delighted to introduce him. I've had a wonderful experience with him, and I knew this will make for a very valuable and very touching episode. So please help me welcome my dear friend, Omar Khan.
Thank you so much for having me here today,
Of
Max.
course.
I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you, Omar. This is so different than any other interview I do because for me, the entire intention here is to connect and to be as authentic as I can with my thoughts and my spirit so I can get the best out of this interview.
Absolutely. And this is what we want for everyone,
That's true.
to live in
That's true.
authenticity.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Omar is a medium. And I've had the privilege of meeting a few mediums. And like many people, I had my skepticism. And I felt that, I'm not so sure how much of this I can believe and I cannot believe, etc. And I ended up learning more and more what is a medium, who is a medium. And the more I kind of understood it, then it became less ambiguous and it became less complicated. And therefore, when I actually got a chance to meet with you, we had a very strong connection because I feel like I also came with a better and more clear conscious and more I was more present. It was just an amazing experience. But today, I want people to meet you, and I want us to talk about your background, and I guess I'd like to start from just the exact time that you found out and discovered you actually have a gift. Like, when was that spark of awareness and discovery for you?
It's a good question. There's two parts to that. The first part of it is that you're not aware that you have a gift. As I was growing into this at the age of 6, spirit, ghosts, whatever you want to call it, would visit me. And for me, they came across as just being a normal part of what I was living through. I would have a lot of chatter in my head. I would feel them around me. And around about the age of 8 is where I came across spirit, ghost, whatever you like to call it, I guess. It was when I was picking plums off a tree in an alleyway, and I looked down the alleyway, and there was an old man standing there looking at me, and I'd seen him a couple of times, but this time I decided to walk up to him. And as I walked up to him, I saw him in full body form, and I said, "Hello." I said, "My name is Omar. Where do you live?" And he pointed, he said, "I live here." And as he said that, he disappeared. I understood that that was spirit, and I didn't think too much about it. But as I started to get older, I became much more sensitive to my surroundings. And around about the age of 10, that time, I could hear a ghost walking down the corridor, and it would unbolt the back door. And my job was to bolt that back door. And every morning, my dad would yell at me saying, "You didn't bolt the back door." And I'd say I did, but there was a ghost that opened it. And my father would not believe me. And my mother was a little bit more open to it. But he was a little frustrated because around about that time, this particular ghost then would stand in my room, and I could feel that he was distraught. But I was young. I didn't know what was going on with him, but he would stare at me, and I would yell and scream, and my dad would come out, and I'd say, "There's a man standing near the curtains," and he'd, go to the curtains and shake it up and goes, "There's no one here. Go to sleep." This was around about 10. And then at the age of 14, we were demolishing the house that we lived in to build a new one. And as I went through at around that age, I said to him, to my dad, I said, "Did anyone die here?" And he said, "Yeah, actually, we got the house cheap." And why? I didn't want to tell you, but there's a guy that hung himself in your room.
Mm.
It made all the sense in the world.
Oh my God.
But my dad did not entertain that or expand that for me in any shape or form. So it was left at that. But going through school at a young age, I was also I am an empath, and I would pick up on a lot of the kids' feelings and things like that. So not knowing what to do with it was a struggle. But as I grew into my teenage years, I had a tough upbringing, and my ability became sharper and stronger. But I still pushed it aside and just continued with the mainstream life.
So I guess it's kind of scary for a young kid to see ghosts and have that experience. And you're saying your dad completely didn't believe you. Did they ever think that you have a mental issue?
My dad called me an enigma, something that can't be explained. I would say things that didn't make sense at the time, and then it would happen. But nobody in my family paid attention. But there was a lot going on within my family, a lot of different things. We had a dysfunctional family, so to speak.
Okay.
So growing through that, and I had a rough childhood. So growing through that sort of rough childhood, street fighting, boxing, fighting racism along the way with what I was facing at the time, and a whole bunch of other things. So.
Okay.
The psychic ability was a little suppressed, but how do I say, my instincts became stronger, if you can separate the difference. I suppressed that because it was a little too much at that point with my life and where it was going, but it was always in the back of my head. But leading into the work that I did as an investigator over 25 years, and I moved into undercover work, my ability kicked in big time then. But it was very personal. I didn't share it with anyone. It was very much as I went into each assignment, I would pick up on who I would face, and I'd get a feeling or the intensity of what that job might be, and then I would position myself accordingly. And then as I was dealing with crooks or whoever I was working with, I could really tune in or understand what the agenda was with each person. In that 25 years of doing that work, I never got harmed out of that.
Which is amazing. In order to kind of, because there's so much there to unfold,
Yeah.
and we'll get to that part. And I just want to kind of gradually understand and learn about you through your childhood. So you kind of saw the little sparks of your ability that, okay, you seeing things that maybe some other people are not seeing, but you didn't quite grasp that thought till you were a teenager, is what you said.
I never said or embraced the idea that I was psychic or a medium, right? Mediumship actually came later. It was the psychic ability or knowing what was coming next, or knowing that I would be okay. And that was that inner knowing that really guided me to everything. The psychic ability kicked in later after facing a couple of personal losses, tragedies. And that moved me in a whole nother direction.
Let's get to know your family a little bit. Yeah. How many brothers and sisters?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
My dad was married 5 times.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Married. Yeah. So with that, when my dad married my mother, my dad had already 2 children. My mother was widowed. She had 4 children.
Wow.
And then from my mother came me, 2 brothers and a sister after that. And then after my mother had passed when I was young, around about 13, 14, my dad remarried and he had another 2 children, twins.
So 11 kids total.
Yeah, and then he had 2 love children that came out of nowhere.
Oh, wow. Afterwards.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long story, but long story short, uh, given what I went through as a child, and if I could make this very short, my dad was a very well-known figure, and he would help a lot of refugees out. But to assimilate back into Australia, into Australian society. As a result of that, we had this one Afghan that decided to have an obsessive hold over my sister. He wanted to marry her, right? And, old school Afghan way of thinking, he approached my father and asked if he would, could he marry her? And my dad went, what? No, no, no. We don't do things like that here. No. And what we didn't know is that this particular guy was well connected with the criminal world. And long story short was that he took offense to it. And he said, you'll regret this. And at the time, my mother was dying at this point, and my father flew to India to deal with her estate at that point. And this particular guy decided to organize to have my father shot. So with that, there was a door knock, and my father opened up the door, and there was a gunman there, and he shot him 6 times with a 32. However, my father survived.
Wow.
At the same time, my mother was dying. And so my father had to rush back, and with 2 bullets still in him. And within a couple of days of that, my mother passed.
Oh.
But that began, this is around about 14.
You were 14 years
Yeah.
old.
And so with that, when my mother was buried, my father tapped me on the shoulder and said, look, the guy that shot me is going to come back. And you being firstborn out of the blood of me, I was one of the prime targets, or a possible target. So with that.
But wait, before you go further,
yeah,
this story in today's time, it's absurd.
It is absurd.
You know what? Like even for the ethnic people today,
yeah,
it's absurd. Like someone from India says, "I want your daughter," and you say no, as if she's a property, and he goes, "You regret this." And it's just like, how much pride and how much like a different mentality was it that the guy will come and send someone to shoot your dad for not giving my son your daughter?
Yeah.
It's just insane.
It is insane, but his background and where he came from, pretty much they could take what they want, but not in this case.
Unbelievable. All right, so now because of this scenario, and look, the beauty of the story is all of this is like now at a time where it's documented, it's in the news, and all of this is just not, this is easy information because it sounds so absurd that sometimes you go, wow, this doesn't even sound like a real story. It sounds like a movie.
Yeah, it is.
And then yet it's a real story.
It's a real story, but to continue it, because it did end up in the papers, and it actually ended up being studied by law students later.
Wow.
So long story short again, and I'll just cut to the chase because we could be here for hours. My brother ended up shooting the guy, right, in a cinema. It was the guy's gun. He punched him in the face, and it fell to the ground, and they went for it, and he picked it up first, and he pulled out a knife. So my brother shot him. My brother was fully acquitted. So as a result of that, and by that time I was 16, and then it hit the papers. It went to court. It was all over Australia. It was huge. So as a result, at the end of all of that, there was this boy, me, that was this hardened kid, at 16, 17 by that time, hardened kid. I knew everything about everything. Long story short, I ended up becoming an investigator, a private investigator. And the guy that trained me worked for the US Justice Department. He was an Australian, and he'd run a lot of undercover ops. And so I was taught by him at the very beginning at a young age. And the intuitive ability then kicked in with all the undercover work. And that led me to over 20 years of work. And there I worked with police on many, many ops and international agencies. I worked all over the world. I had an ability to infiltrate very quickly and work out criminals very quickly. And they couldn't figure out how the heck does this guy do it? Right. Partly I've been questioned as being a double agent, so to speak. I was working for the other side and I'm giving misinformation, because how do you do it so quickly? But I would never mention it. I was accused a couple of times of being psychic by detectives, and I would say, no, I'm not that. I didn't want to reveal it at this point. So that's how it sort of began in terms of just navigating it through this sort of dark world.
What made your ability of connecting better to come out? Was it that you became more spiritual? Was it more so that you were in dangerous situations than that you tapped in?
What it was once my daughter had passed, as I said, there was a lot to this. Once she passed, certain people came into my life and tapped me on the shoulder. I came across a medium whilst I was on a job. When my daughter passed, I was still working, and I never expected. I never organized a reading with this guy. It just happened, and he just blurted all this out and told me everything about my daughter, right down to names of her friends and so on and so forth. And it gave me so much peace. It helped me to embrace it all and understand it all. After that, intuitively, I made that decision that I want to do that. I want to help people like in that way. But it took me a while to get there. Then there was another medium out of nowhere where I ended up in this seminar by mistake. He pointed me out of a crowd. Kelvin Cruikshank, I would say one of the best mediums in the world, pulled me out of a crowd. And he basically said, read for this woman. He just said, hurry up and read. And I did. And I nailed it. And he said, that's what you're meant to do. So there were certain things during this sort of trauma that I was going through that people had popped up and indicated that that's the direction of where you want to go. But once I landed, when I was in Bali and my marriage had fallen apart, I started to reflect on my life and reflect on my losses and the readings that I did. After a while, I understood, I could see the change in people. And I made a decision then that that's what I want to do. And when I made that decision to help in that particular way, my ability opened up to connect to those that have passed away. It was like Spirit said, now you got it, Omar. That's where you're meant to go. You've got to make something worthy out of your own tragedy, right? And you're meant to pass this on to others. And so I took a backpack and I started to travel around the world and donate my time to parents that have lost children and work with soldiers that have been in conflict and help them. Mind you, other people also, but my mission was that. And that took me on a trip of 14 years. 14 years I've been traveling with no fixed address from city to city.
Sounds like when you got to Bali, there was a massive switch in your life.
Bali's an amazing place.
Yeah. I mean, you just transformed.
Transformed, and the people of Bali and those that are listening to this podcast from Bali, I thank you. They made it all happen. The Bali people, expats, Balinese, they all made it happen. And, I really consider Bali as my home. I call it Mother Bali. And yes, that launched me into it all.
You changed. You became a different person.
I became a very different person after that.
Your lifestyle changed? Big time.
Big time. My lifestyle changed. I went back into health. I went back into self-love. I started to take care of myself. Mind you, though, laughter wasn't in me at that point. I still had to find that, but now I found it. As I was reading for various people, I could see the shift or change in them. And I realized that in an hour, so much can happen for one person. Even one phrase, one sentence can trigger an opening, a connection to something else, something bigger, something greater, or a purpose for others. So that has been my greatest joy in all of it, seeing that happen. And literally reading for thousands of people, I've understood how it all works in all of that. So, yeah.
So, Omar, your lifestyle changed. You became more spiritual, I would say.
Yes, spiritual, but spirituality is such a loaded thing too, right? A lot of people will talk about crystals and, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, the spirituality comes from within. It's the connection to your intuitive self.
Yes. Yes. So what I'm asking, I guess, is more so, did you start practicing any sort of spiritual breathing, chants? Did you you were in Bali, did you join any groups?
I was anti all of it. Anti-spiritual, this whole silent meditation, silent retreats, you name it, what people do, soul activation, crystal healing, all of those things. I was totally anti it. I thought it's all bullshit, right, at the end of the day. So I did not go down that track, and I pissed off a lot of people that had this sort of spiritual slant to life, because I said, you're not living authentically, right? You got to live through your own experience and live through your own, challenges, because each time you go through a challenge, right, it sparks an opening, right? There's a part of you that lights up. There's a part of you that understands more as you step into your trauma, into your challenges. Things open up to you. Things that you weren't aware of start to reveal itself to you. With spirituality and meditation, a lot of it is not based on moving into your challenges or being uncomfortable, right? You're trying to find that peace and tranquility, which I get, and you should do that, but in your own particular way, right? And so, my approach to it is very different. And the other part of it too is because I grew up with spirit and these guys around me, I talk to them just as friends. And I don't sit there in reverence of them. I demand what I want. I'm the creator. I know that. And knowing and being self-aware that you are responsible for everything that is happening, and you are the creator of everything, and every thought and every word you have creates your reality for you. When you become very aware of that, okay, then you start to open up your spirituality. Spirituality is awareness. That's what spirituality is. Right. I'm very aware of what I speak, how I interact with someone. Okay. I am leaving an imprint on that person. That person's either going to feel good or feel bad when they cross my path. And so I'm conscious of the fact that I'm going to hold a high vibration for everybody. Okay. And if I hold a high vibration for everybody, it raises my vibration, and wonderful things happen when you're in that state. And of course, as you're opening up to spirit, of course, you have to demonstrate a connection. Okay. So give gratitude for your day. Give gratitude for the things that have come across you. And I don't mean write it down in a gratitude diary, right? This just intellectualizes everything. You're using your mind. No, stand in the fucking middle of the room naked and say to spirit, thank you for everything. Thank you for my heart. Thank you for my love. Thank you for all the things within me. Right? And then go to sleep with that. That is profound. That is a connection to spirit. You don't need to write it down. And this is what I've done for myself. Honestly, I'm blessed. I'm grateful for the life that I have, but I created it. I was intentional. I was aware of everything that I was doing. And as each roadblock came along, I embraced it as a challenge for me to open up and discover other parts of me. It all lights up, and the pathway to other possibilities are discovered.
How much more do you think you can grow in this world of being a medium and connecting to spirits? Is there more levels for you to reach?
That's a good question. I would say that as you really honor your energy and your vibration and how you share that with everyone, and you're aware of that, and you affect positive change, you continually open up the next level to you. by doing that. So as you receive and as you give, you grow from that, and more is affected by doing that. So yes, there are other levels that come from it, but also, say, for instance, happiness, right? Huge struggle for me to laugh. One of the things that I would do is I would ask for a lesson by spirit, my guides. I'd say, show me laughter. Show me what laughter is about. What's the value of it? And I would go out and I would have somebody tap me on the shoulder. Like one day, this older gentleman, I was at my brother's cafe, and he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Are you happy?" And it was that day I asked. He said, "Are you happy?" And I struggle with that. And I said, "I try to be." And he said, "Sit here, son. Let me have a word with you." Right? And he talked about the value of happiness in connection to relationships, right? With your family and friends, right? And being in that place of focusing on what's good in your life.
So can you laugh now?
Oh, hell yeah.
Beautiful.
A lot more.
So you had a breakthrough.
I had a breakthrough, and yes, I had a breakthrough. And I realized it really was my daughter that came through to me and said, "Dad, enough. It's time for you to laugh." And it was really in a semi-conscious state I was in, and this Buddhist monk was smacking me in the solar plexus, and it was sparking. And he said, "Laugh, laugh, laugh," and I would laugh, and then my daughter appeared, and then I would cry, right? And immediately, and then he'd hit me again. He'd say, "Laugh," and I'd start laughing. And then my daughter would appear, and then my daughter would say, "Dad, laugh. I want you to laugh. I want you to live through laughter, live through joy, you live through love. I want to live through that with you." And that changed everything.
What an experience.
That changed everything.
Wow. Well, selfishly, I was hoping that you say the first time you came and you saw me at the Laugh Factory.
Mind you, though, I did belly laugh. I really did belly laugh.
That's so
that
sweet.
last one. Oh my God, it was brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, the endorphins were really running through me.
That's so beautiful.
No, it was brilliant.
But this concept of being happy, it's a very ambiguous concept for a lot of people. And I think you said something earlier, and the word awareness was used very strongly. And you said, spirituality is awareness.
Yeah.
And I think that is also the answer to happiness. Because once you become aware of your state of mind, if you become aware of what your challenges are, then you will be able to find being content, and you will be able to find balance. And that is happiness. Happiness is kind of a weird word because somehow it's visually imagined as you wake up and you start laughing and high-fiving people, and then there's a dance that breaks out in the kitchen, and then you run outside and the whole street starts waving at you, and you're like, there's a carnival, and that really in real life you can't create happiness by these images. Happiness is from within, and I feel like you need to bring that gratitude and that feeling of content by being clear on what you want.
Oh, yeah.
And create happiness.
Happiness is little things through the day that you don't pay enough attention to, but they actually bring you a moment of joy, but you don't really pay attention to it. So the other day, I'm big on having a good coffee, right? My friend knows that. And I'm sitting there drinking this coffee, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to share this experience of this coffee with my friend. So as I'm drinking it, I'm like, buddy, this is so good. This is really the best coffee I've had. And as I'm thinking, oh my God, I said, you gotta have one of these coffees. It is just pure joy. And he could see me smiling, and he was smiling, and he could see the joy in me, and he was getting joyful. The next day, he's like, buddy, I know you love your coffee. I found a really good place. It affected him, right? The fact that I shared that little moment, and he knew that was joyful, he wanted to share in that again. Okay. So when you can do that, like just being with a friend. And for that moment, just in that moment, hey, buddy, I really appreciate you. I enjoy your company. You're a great friend. There is a moment of happiness in that. Okay. And if you do that for every little thing, every so often, or you make a decision that, no, today I'm going to focus on those little pockets of happiness, right? Then when I get home, I'm going to wrap that up. And when I walk in that door, I'm going to appreciate my girlfriend, my wife, my children, and I'm going to be joyful. And you know what? I love music. I'm going to put that on in the house right now, and I'm going to enjoy music, right? And when you start to express those things that trigger joy or inspiration or creativity, that's happiness. Okay.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that you've also got to become self-aware. What are you amplifying to the world?
Mm-hmm.
And I choose to amplify happiness or gratitude for all the things.
I love that, Omar. I love what you said about the small little things in the day that are so pleasant, and a lot of times we're not paying attention, and that's why we're missing out.
We're missing out.
And being present in the moment is what allows us to discover and appreciate these little things, right? And I think the reason we're not present is because we're all chasing. Every day we get up and we're chasing and we're in a rush and we're running around for something out there that we don't even know exactly what the worth or what the value, what it is. And we're missing out of this beautiful things around us.
Absolutely. And what it is people are constantly thinking, interpreting, concluding, evaluating 24/7. They're in their heads.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's no balance to the heart. The creativity isn't coming out. Everything is intellectualized, or everything has got this practical application. You got to find that moment, that quiet moment, okay, where you can just come to yourself and find that moment of joy or happiness. It might be just putting on the headphones and listening to some music at the end of the night, or watching a funny video, or picking something you enjoy having and really appreciating it.
Yes.
Okay. In that stillness, right, is where you'll find your answers also. When we rush, what we're doing is putting out small fires. Okay. We're not really focusing on the bigger picture of, is this good for me? A lot of people don't even ask that question. Okay. They're constantly under some form of obligation to something else and not themselves.
Yeah.
And that you've got to pull yourself back and realize that, am I joyful in what I'm doing? Is this really bringing me happiness? And start to align yourself to what the bigger picture is for yourself.
Yeah.
And then focus on that.
And part of me wants to say to you, oh yeah, we should slow down. And then I don't even like the way that word describes, because I would more so say it's not about slowing down or speeding up. It's about being connected to that exact rhythm that life is supposed to be. Hear the drums in the vibration of that present time. And I think again, being aware of what's the energy of the day is flowing like, and being in that flow.
Being vibrationally aligned to what you want to create, and being excited by it, and already seeing the outcome of it, and being joyous about it. Okay. So the idea is to really tap into the thing that you love and pursue that. Okay. And you'll find that, there's purpose in your day, in what you do.
Yeah.
But most people don't take that moment to sit back and go, what is it I really love to do? What is it I really enjoy to do? And they miss the boat by doing that.
And also, buddy, here's something that I want to add on, is that we want to know, there are things that we love to do. There are things that we want. And in order, again, to be able to enjoy the little things, first you got to be content with what you have. And then once you're content with what you have, you go, this is what I want. And then with an attitude of gratitude is so important in order, like you have to be appreciative of what you have right now, then take a step towards something that you want, right? Otherwise, if you're not being grateful of what you have, then you're not in a state of mind to be able to be.
You're not vibrationally aligned to having things flourish within your life. It's not so much I want; it's more about I'm going to have it. The idea is to be very resolute and to know that this is what's going to happen. Okay.
Yeah, that's a really hard
no, it isn't.
concept for a lot of people. No, because I learned that, I want to say in the last 6-7 years, since the book Secret became very popular and whatever that year was, and I read it, and then this idea of asking and visualizing and imagining it already there, it was a very foreign concept to me, at least. And I was introduced to that type of thinking and that mentality. And again, I don't think it still happened for me till like a few years later, till I really realized everything else that did happen for me, I saw it as it has already happened. And that's why it did happen. So then I kind of trusted it more, and I tried to fix the vocabulary in my head. And instead of saying I think or it might happen, I just say it in a way that it has already happened, and really believe that this is going to happen. I have an amazing this or that, and then really just seeing it unfold. It's an attitude, it's a mindset, and it's a genuine belief.
Absolutely. When I used to do undercover work, I would already decide that it was going to be a successful job. And I would say, I'm going to kill this job. This is going to work. I'm going to nail all these guys. Not a problem. And I'd even put a time frame on it. I'd work within that also. And a lot of self-talk, a lot of positive self-talk. So when I would get up in the morning to face the day, I'd say, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to meet my objective or whatever I needed to do. A lot of and I would talk myself through it, and it would unfold as I said.
Yeah.
Point being is that possibility was sitting there, but I had to bring it in and demand it because I was so strong and I felt so strong about it. Vibrationally, I lined up to it. So the possibilities of anything can come in any way, but you have to be very clear about it and very resolute. And of course, hold that vibration of expectation. But the big one is that you are ready to receive it. You're ready to accept it.
Absolutely.
That's a hard one for most people.
Oh, it's beautiful. And a lot of times when you do your readings, I'm assuming a lot of this conversation comes up because, if there is a message you give someone and they're wondering how to achieve or how to go about it, I'm assuming you open up and you maybe
I love
give
it.
them some
The circumstances are always there. Long story short, again, I had a lady in Australia. She came to me. She lost her daughter, 16-year-old, through suicide. And she was in a broken marriage. And she was with another partner, which was terrible. And she didn't have any money. She was working in a coffee shop. As we finished up the reading for her daughter, I said to her, well, what about you? What do you want? She says, I have no idea. I said, all right, what do you love to do? She says, I like making raw cakes and desserts. That's my thing. I said, congratulations, you're a roaring success. I'm so happy for you. And she looked at me perplexed. She said, what do you mean by that? I work in a coffee shop. And I said, yes, the perfect place. I'm so happy for you. She said, I don't understand. I said, this is what you do. Go and make that chocolate cake. Bring it into the cafe. The boss likes you. Put it in the cabinet there. It will sell within the hour.
Oh my God.
And, she went ahead and did it. And no, I also said to her, let's talk about a business. She said, a business? I said, yes, a business. And I said, I'll say the first name, you say the second. So I said, Conscious. And she said, Cravings. I said, that's the name of your business. I said, go get the card, go get a name, go get the, ABN business number. And I said, it's time for you to own it. Own this. You're going to be fine. right? Now, what we're doing there is she's creating the vibration of the possibility of this. So she went in the same week to get the card, got the business name, put the cake in there, it sold out. And within that week, she's full-time in the kitchen making it. No matter where you are within your life, and particularly when we're in a tough situation, okay, this is where the possibilities of opening up an aspect or discovering parts of yourself that you wouldn't have otherwise realized, right? But there is the choice that you've got to make is, do I sit back and just sort of fester in all of that, or I move forward, okay? And what life wants from you is to move forward. And as you do, you open yourself up to what's possible.
It's a very difficult concept for anybody to comprehend. Losing a child is one of the most difficult, painful experience a human being can experience. You have lost a child, and that was your only child?
No, I have 2 daughters and a son.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you lost your child at age 14.
Yeah, 14, yeah.
I just feel like, and it was a very interesting time of your life, dealing with a loss that painful. Can you describe a little bit like how did you go about it to be able to move on or understand for yourself what has happened spiritually?
The first 2 years are tough. When it happened, I was so pissed off because I should have known. That was the first thing that was in my head. I should have known. I should have known that this was coming. And yet this wasn't shown to me. Okay. The other part of it, at that point, I totally disregarded any idea of something higher. Because I couldn't figure it out. I said, hang on, why are you taking my daughter away? What did I do?
Hmm.
Why is this happening? Why me? And that word why consumed me because I couldn't get an answer for it. And so I threw myself into undercover work, but I threw myself into the most dangerous work I could do, right? Where I went overseas and I did dangerous work.
This is after or before your daughter passes?
After my, yeah. And I turned even wilder. And I really didn't really want to be around anybody at that point. There was depression in there, but I recognized what it was. I did not take any medication, and I knew what I needed to do, and that was to exercise and do positive self-talk and to find that stillness, but also to look across to my children and feel grateful for what I have. So that kept me going. And I also threw myself into my work, so I was very, very busy. So I couldn't revisit it.
It was too much of pain for you to deal with.
A lot of
you
pain,
needed a distraction.
and there was no one to talk to at this point. Okay, it was only when I came across this medium that opened my heart and revealed everything that was going on, and I found peace in that. That I knew that she was okay because there were certain things that nobody could talk about, and so I reconnected to the idea, or no, I shouldn't say idea, reconnected to my daughter that was with me, and as I let my grief go, and as I accepted it and embraced it, I could feel my daughter and I could feel the love of my daughter. And I became more aware of what was around me in terms of support and love that I was rejecting. Okay. And it's when you embrace your trauma, okay, is when you can heal. And not to say that I fully embraced it, right? PTSD is a funny thing. It can creep up at you at any point. So it did open up again in 2013. I had a major car accident and a lot of things happened, and that triggered all my losses again, right? Even worse. And I really then mourned my daughter even further. This is several years later. Okay. But at that point, it was then that I realized that I've got to take this and make this this tragedy, this thing worthy. But once again, those circumstances were there for me to do that, and I wasn't seeing it. I was pushed into it by a higher force to, share my ability. And it's through helping others that you heal yourself, right? It's because of my own wounds, I could appreciate the wounds of others and work, from a heart level with them. And that became my driving force at the end of the day. That's how I healed.
Omar, would you share with us how you lost your daughter?
She committed suicide at that point. Yeah, she committed suicide. Yeah, it took me by surprise. You'll find that a lot of parents, go through a similar experience. I mean,
And that's why you help a lot of people that are going through the same
oh yeah,
similar
similar. Yeah,
painful situation.
Yeah, I work with suicidal teenagers, women and girls, young women in recovery houses for various things and
Okay.
traumas and things like that.
That makes sense.
But
And
what
that's
it
where the
did,
meaning is.
there's a meaning, but
Yeah,
that's what
yeah,
opened my
yeah,
ability
yeah,
up, that I
yeah.
could actually step into somebody's subconscious and know what they're feeling and able to reflect it back to them. But at the same time, I can see the opportunity and the growth within it. So I always it's always positive. There's always something of value in it. It's just a matter of recognizing and engaging into it.
You have these s- thousands and thousands of beautiful stories. You kind of, to me, as a listener, you owe all of this to your daughter.
Yes, I owe it to my daughter, but I owe it to the life that I lived through
Hmm.
also.
Yes, but I feel like that pivotal, like major painful thing that could have happened in your life kind of was like the light switch going on.
It's a
And
fight, though, within yourself to
mm,
open up your vulnerability and open up your heart to someone. But, the funny thing is, when you call this a gift, right, a gift means that you have to receive it. Okay. And
mm,
that was the battle. Yeah, sure, it's a gift, but you have to receive it. But you also have to receive it with the idea that you feel valued enough, right,
mm,
to receive it, and that you hold value to share it.
mhm,
Okay.
mhm,
That's the battle. So with my daughter's passing, it definitely opened up my heart, but it opened up my heart to the wounds of others, right? With the work that I was doing, I was quite hard. So, seeing a lot of bad things, I would shut that off because it would affect me. But once my daughter had passed, my heart opened up and I was able to feel so much more of other people's pain, so to
mhm.
speak, which was always there, but it was shut off because of, everything that had happened. So yes, my daughter did. She definitely was the catalyst of healing other people. Absolutely. And
Beautiful.
but this is what you got to remember though, with people or whatever they're going through, that no matter what tragedy you're going through, go through it, embrace it, carry that cross, bear it. Okay. Because if you do, you're going to challenge yourself and you're going to move through that darkness. And what you'll find is light at the other end. And with that, there is an opening and an understanding of something larger and greater than yourself. Okay. And if you can
Mm.
take that on and you can align yourself to something greater than yourself and share that with the world, then your whole life will turn into a meaningful sort of journey for yourself. And that's how I work on myself to do that, but I also work with others to do that too.
Very nicely said. I'd love to hear an instance of a reading or how you came across somebody who didn't believe in any of this, doesn't believe in spirit, doesn't believe in afterlife, doesn't believe in mediums, and how were you able to connect with that person?
I call them blockers. These are blockers. And I enjoy reading for blockers, okay, because of their attitude, right? What I do ask is for them to uncross their legs and try not intellectualize any of it. Okay. So my friend's husband, she forced him into seeing me. And she told me, he said, doesn't believe in any of it, right? He's a lawyer. He was in politics at some point, right? So he sat with me and I looked at him and I said, look, I understand that you don't believe in any of this, and I'm really glad that you don't, because by the time we're finished, I'm going to turn your life upside down. I'm a bit of a smart ass, right? Because he's one, right? He's sitting there going, "Oh, who the fuck are you?" Right? So I play with it. So I with that, I said, "Oh, I got your mother here." He goes, "Yeah, given my age, yeah, could all probability, yeah, my parents would have passed." I went, "Okay." I said, "She had cancer." I said, "You said, yeah, many people have cancer." I said, "It was in the breast area." I said, "Yeah, the majority is in the breast area." I went, "Okay, that's fair enough." I said, "When you were at the hospital, you brought a rose to your mother." And he said, "What?" I said, "You brought a rose to your mother, a single rose." "What?" He said, "You put it there and you held her hand and you spoke to her and she passed over and then you left after that." He went, "What?" He said, "Yeah, but the rose?" I go, "Yeah." "Oh, yeah." I said, "Oh, yeah, the rose. Now that you mention it, I've got a clearer picture of that. You took the rose and you put it in a book and you pressed it in a book and it'd be up on your bookshelf here, wouldn't it?" He did not know what to say. He didn't have an answer for it. I went further into it. I said, "I see a lot of Native American artifacts. You've got a lot of them." And he's like, "How did you know that?" I said, "I actually don't know that. Your father is telling me that because he worked with Native American Indians." Long story short, this guy walked out with he had to go study it. as an intellectual, go study it, go read all the books and everything like that. But it did change his mind. It did open him up, and he started to connect to his mother. He believed that once you were dead, you were dead, but that completely changed around. Okay.
Do you go see mediums yourself?
I can't read for myself. Yes, I have two that I will speak to. But
Okay.
I intuitively, I get a sense of what is pending or what can happen, right? But long term, I can't see it. And even making decisions for myself can be difficult. So I'll consult with one or two friends that are mediums. So I'll do it that way.
That's so beautiful. Well, you have a very beautiful karma that you're creating on a daily basis for yourself, for your family, and that is, a beautiful place to have on this planet Earth. So I congratulate you to have such a difficult upbringing and difficult past, but then it came to a place that you were able to guide yourself to be in this situation.
I'm not the only one. There are many people that have gone through a lot of stuff that are
Yeah.
doing a lot of good things with it all. I'm humbled by the fact that people extend their trust to me. That's a big thing, that people will open up and extend their trust and their vulnerability to me. This is huge for me when people sit in front of me. Really, really respect that. And I'm merely just the messenger at the end of the day. There's something beautiful above all of us, and it comes through me, but it comes from a higher source.
Yeah.
I'm just the messenger in
Yeah.
it all.
And it's the messages that we love to hear the most.
Yes, but the fact is what I see is that at the end of the day, we're all one big family, and we're all going through stuff. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for other people, and you wouldn't be here, and everybody else wouldn't be here if it wasn't for other people. And
100%.
and so with that, if you can honor that, or honor the idea of connection to another, and that you have value and you've got something to share, you'll find that that you'll be doing good karma for everybody else too.
Well, I'm very grateful, Omar, to have met you and connect with you. My sister is a big fan, loves you. She really has had a great experience talking to you, finding some new ideas for herself, and it's all been a very beautiful experience. It's been a very spiritual experience. So I really hope that a lot of people take this in, and maybe this chat would help them to go for themselves and find out more by connecting to a medium and connecting to their loved ones And hopefully those messages can guide them and bring a lot of clarity for them.
Absolutely. But you have to be careful when you're choosing a psychic medium.
Mm-hmm.
Go to one that has been recommended by someone. Be clear about what you want to achieve. And just another point that people should know is that no psychic can claim that they can connect to a specific person. Okay. We don't have that ability. We open ourselves up and anybody can come in. And there are many a times where people have come to me and they want to connect to a family member and it's their best friend that'll come instead. So it depends. And sometimes it's a dog, believe it or not. I've had dogs, right? Yeah. They have to search out verified or qualified psychic mediums.
Thank you so much.
A pleasure.
You're such a wonderful soul.
Thank you, Max.
I enjoyed every minute, Omar.
You too. No, I
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it.
You're
Cheers.
so wonderful.
Thank you.
Buddy, thank
Bye.
you. Appreciate you.